Hi guys, today I want to talk to you about something very serious that is happening more and more in the United States. Bowel cancer. Also called colon cancer, this type of cancer is becoming very common among both men and women. And do you know why this is worrying? Because until recently, it wasn't that common. But before we talk about what might be going on, I want you to understand why bowel cancer is something we need to pay attention to from an early age. Imagine that your intestine is like a big tube inside your body. It's responsible for digesting the food we eat, taking out all the nutrients we need, and then throwing away what's no longer useful. This tube is very important for the functioning of our body. Now think about the fact that inside this tube, small balls called polyps can sometimes appear. These polyps don't cause many problems at first, but if they stay there for too long, they can turn into a tumor, which is when the cells in our body start to grow uncontrollably. And this is often how bowel cancer starts. In the United States, in recent years, doctors have noticed that the number of people with this type of cancer is increasing. Today, bowel cancer is the second most common cancer among men, second only to prostate cancer. And among women, it is also the second most common, second only to breast cancer. This means that a lot of people are being diagnosed with this disease, which is why we doctors and all of you need to keep an eye on it. The big question is, why are cases of bowel cancer on the rise? Well, there are several possible explanations, but one thing is certain. People's lifestyles have changed a lot in recent decades. Let's think about it for a moment. In the past, people ate more home-cooked food, fruit, vegetables, and grains. Nowadays, many people prefer to eat ready-made food, full of preservatives, colorings, and other substances that aren't good for our bodies. What's more, we're moving less. Many people spend the whole day sitting down, whether at work, in front of the computer, or even on the sofa watching TV. And do you know what that means? That our bodies aren't working as they should. But I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to warn you and show you that we can change this. Understanding that bowel cancer is on the rise is the first step to preventing it from happening to more people. If you know what can increase your chances of getting this disease, you can start making better choices for your health. Another important thing that may be influencing this increase in cases is the fact that people are living longer. Yes, it's true. People are getting older, and bowel cancer tends to appear more in people over 50. But at the same time, there's another phenomenon happening. We're increasingly seeing cases of bowel cancer in younger people, in their 40s or even 30s. This is something new, and it's making doctors very worried, because previously bowel cancer was seen as a disease that only affected older people. Now, I want you to imagine a timeline. On one side are people who have healthier habits. They eat well, exercise, avoid processed foods, and of course, take care of their gut health. On the other side are people who don't pay as much attention to their diet, who eat a lot of processed foods, who hardly exercise, and sometimes don't even know they need to have routine checkups. Who do you think is more likely to develop a health problem such as bowel cancer? That's right, people who don't take care of their bodies. And that's why we're here today, to talk about the importance of taking care of the intestine and thus reducing the number of cases of cancer. When we say that the number of cases of bowel cancer is on the rise, many people may think that it's not something that will happen to them, that it's something far away. But the truth is that cancer doesn't choose social class, skin color, or age. It can appear in anyone. In fact, more and more celebrities are coming out to tell us that they have been diagnosed with bowel cancer. This is a good thing, because when these famous people talk about their illnesses, they help other people to be more aware and seek medical help before the problem progresses. One thing that is important to clarify is that bowel cancer is not a death sentence. If discovered early, it can be treated and often cured. But for this to happen, it's essential that people undergo routine examinations, such as colonoscopy, which is the test that allows the doctor to see inside the intestine and detect any signs of a problem before it becomes something more serious. So here's my request to you. If you're 45 or over, talk to your doctor about having a colonoscopy. And if you have a history of bowel cancer in your family, such as parents or grandparents who had the disease, you might want to get tested even earlier, at the age of 40. Don't put it off, because bowel cancer is a disease that can be prevented with early diagnosis. I know this topic may seem heavy, but remember, the earlier we take care of our health, the less chance we have of facing problems in the future. Take care of yourself and share this message with your friends and family. Prevention can save lives. Now that we understand that bowel cancer is becoming more common, especially in the United States, let's talk about something that many people ignore, but which is extremely important: the symptoms. When we talk about symptoms, the first thing that comes to mind is something like pain or discomfort, right? In the case of bowel cancer, the story is a little different, and I'll tell you why. Imagine that inside your body there is a battle going on, but you don't feel a thing. That's what makes bowel cancer so dangerous. It can grow slowly and often doesn't show any signs until it's at a more advanced stage. It's as if the problem is there hidden, and the person only notices it when it's already quite large and more difficult to treat. I know this can be frightening, but that's why we're here to understand how we can change this story. I'll tell you a little story to help you understand better. Imagine you have a house, and at the bottom of your yard, a weed starts to grow. At first, it's very small, almost imperceptible. You don't even notice it's there. Over time, it grows and spreads, but you only start to notice when it has taken over a large part of the yard and is damaging your other plants, your flowers. If you had seen the plant at the beginning, you could have uprooted it quickly and easily, right? But as it's grown without you realizing it, now the work is much harder. Bowel cancer works in a similar way. At first, it may be growing inside, without you noticing anything different. And when the first symptoms appear, it's because the disease is already at a more advanced stage. Among the most common symptoms are things like changes in bowel habit. This means that you may suddenly notice that you're going to the toilet more often than usual, or less often. You may have episodes of diarrhea that don't go away, or constipation that comes out of nowhere and doesn't go away. Blood in your stools. This is one of the most worrying signs. If you notice blood in your stools, whether it's bright red or dark, as if it's mixed, it's important to see a doctor immediately. This doesn't mean you have bowel cancer, but it is a warning sign. Unexplained anemia. Do you know when you start to feel very tired, without energy, and the doctor finds out that you have anemia? This could be a sign that something is wrong with your body, especially if there's no apparent cause for the anemia. This is because in some cases, bowel cancer can cause small bleeds that we don't even notice, but which over time reduce the levels of iron in the blood. Abdominal pain or discomfort. Another thing that can happen is that you feel pain or discomfort in your stomach that doesn't go away. It can be a feeling of bloating or a localized pain that comes and goes. As the intestine is a crucial part of our digestive system, any problem there can cause these symptoms. And look, I have to be very honest with you. Don't wait for symptoms before you go to the doctor. Often, people wait until they feel something to make an appointment, but in the case of bowel cancer, by the time the symptoms appear, the disease may already be at a more advanced stage. This means that the chance of a cure is greatly reduced. It's as if you're late for the battle. Now, I'm going to tell you a secret that many people don't know. More than 90% of bowel cancer cases can be cured if they are discovered early. That's right, more than 90%. But here's the bad news. Around 80% of cases are diagnosed when the cancer is already at an advanced stage. And do you know why that is? Because people delay going to the doctor. They think it's just passing constipation, or that the tiredness is because of work, or that the bleeding is just a hemorrhoid. And all the while, the cancer continues to grow. Now, let me tell you something important. Don't feel bad if you've ignored these signs in the past. What's more, it doesn't matter how old you are. Although bowel cancer is more common in people over 50, we are increasingly seeing cases in younger people in their 40s, 35s, and even 30s. So if you notice any of these symptoms, don't think, "Oh, I'm too young to have this kind of problem." As I've already said, bowel cancer doesn't choose age, and the earlier it's discovered, the greater the chances of treatment and cure. I'll give you a very practical example. A patient I recently saw was only 35 years old and was suffering from anemia that no one could explain. She had all her blood tests, took iron supplements, but continued to feel weak and tired. Until, after a colonoscopy, we discovered that she had a small tumor in her intestine. Fortunately, we were able to diagnose it in time, and the treatment was a success. If she had waited any longer, it might have been too late. So here's the message. If you notice any changes in your body, especially related to the intestines, don't ignore them. Even if it seems like something simple, like constipation or diarrhea that won't go away, It's better to investigate and find out that it's nothing serious than to let the problem grow without realizing it. And remember, bowel cancer can be silent, but you don't have to stay silent. Talk to your doctor, have preventive tests, and, above all, take care of your health. That way, you'll be much better prepared to avoid unpleasant surprises in the future. Let's join the fight for prevention and early diagnosis. Let's continue with the next topic, now about the progression of bowel cancer in an accessible and detailed way. But first, what do you think of the video? Now, guys, let's talk about how bowel cancer grows and develops over time. This part is super important because, as I've explained before, bowel cancer doesn't appear overnight. It's a disease that forms slowly. And understanding how it progresses can help us fight and prevent this type of cancer. First, let's imagine that inside our intestines there is a highway through which food passes as it is being digested. This road is very long and needs to be clean and unobstructed for everything to work properly. Now imagine that somewhere along this road, a small pebble appears, a very small ball that we call polyp. At first, this polyp is harmless. It doesn't cause pain, it doesn't stop food from passing through, and you don't even notice it's there. But the problem is that this little stone can grow and over time turn into something dangerous. Here's the most important point. Not every polyp will become cancer, but every bowel cancer starts out as a polyp. So if we can identify and remove these polyps before they grow too large or turn into malignant tumors, we can prevent cancer. It's as if we were removing that pebble from the road before it blocked the way. Cool, right? Now you may be asking yourself, but how does a polyp turn into cancer? Well, it's a process that can take years, and that's a good thing because it gives us time to take action, get tested, and remove these polyps before they become a serious problem. What happens is that over time, some cells inside the polyp start to behave strangely, growing and multiplying in an uncontrolled way. At first, this change is very subtle, and the polyp still seems harmless. But as more and more cells grow out of control, the polyp gets bigger and can end up turning into a malignant tumor, which is what we call cancer. Let me tell you a little story to illustrate how this happens. Imagine you have a beautiful garden full of flowers. One day, you notice a small weed growing among the flowers. At first, this weed is very small and you think, oh, I won't worry about that now. It's so small that it won't even cause a problem. But over time, this weed starts to grow and spread, taking over the flowers and suffocating the garden. By the time you finally decide to pull it out, it's much harder because the roots are deep and spreading. If you had removed the weed right from the start, the job would be much easier and the garden would be healthy. It's the same with bowel cancer. When the polyp is still small, it's easy to remove it and prevent it from turning into cancer. But if you wait too long, it can grow, invade other parts of the intestine, and even spread to other organs in the body. So that's why it's so important to have routine examinations, such as a colonoscopy, which can detect these polyps early on, before they turn into something more serious. Now, let me tell you a little more about how this progression happens in the body. The intestine is divided into several parts, as if it were a road with different sections. When cancer starts in one of these sections, it usually stays there for a while. But if left untreated, it can start to invade the deeper layers of the intestine and eventually break through the intestinal walls. From there, the cancer can spread to other organs, such as the liver and lungs. This process of cancer traveling to other parts of the body is called metastasis, and when this happens, treatment becomes much more complicated. The good news is that in most cases, bowel cancer progresses slowly. This means that we have a valuable window of time to carry out tests and interventions. But it's essential not to ignore screening tests and to keep an eye out for any changes in the body, even if they seem small. You've heard of colonoscopy, right? This is the test that allows the doctor to look inside your intestine with a small camera and identify any signs of polyps or abnormalities. And you know what's amazing? If the doctor finds a polyp during the colonoscopy, he can remove it right there during the examination. This means that you can leave the appointment with your intestinal tract clear and free of any obstacles that could turn into cancer in the future. A colonoscopy is not only an examination to diagnose problems, but also to prevent them. Now, of course, nobody likes to think about having tests, especially when they involve the bowel. I can understand that. The idea of having a colonoscopy can be uncomfortable for many people, but I assure you that it's worth it. The test is quick, and most people don't even feel a thing because it's done under sedation. In other words, you'll be asleep while the doctor does all the work. And when you wake up, you'll know that you've taken a huge step towards protecting your health. One last important thing about the progression of bowel cancer is that, in many cases, it doesn't give any symptoms until it's well advanced. This means that if you wait until you feel something before going to the doctor, it may be too late. I know I've said this before, but it's something that needs to be reinforced. Don't wait for symptoms. Get your routine checkups, especially if you're over 45 or have a family history of cancer. Early detection can save your life. So, to summarize, bowel cancer usually starts as a small polyp, which can take years to develop into cancer. But during this time, we have the opportunity to intervene and remove the polyp before it causes problems. Having routine examinations such as a colonoscopy is the best way to detect these polyps early and ensure that your bowel pathway stays clean and healthy. Don't wait to act. Take care of your health now and avoid complications in the future. Remember, prevention is always better than cure. And in the case of bowel cancer, prevention can be the key to a long and healthy life. That's it for today. In the next video, we'll continue talking about the subject, and we'll cover metastasis, risk factors, prevention, and case increases. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends, and let us know what you thought of it in the comments.